On December 12th, 2023, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, also known as E3, was finally taken off life support after one brief statement read, "After more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last, the time has come to say goodbye. Thanks for the memories." And honestly, it was a long time coming. A lot of games industries were wondering about the future of the show since PlayStation first pulled out of it in 2019. Also, in that same year, E3 accidentally leaked a document containing the address and phone numbers of show attendees, effectively doxing a large portion of the games industry. If you look back on it, those events really started the downfall of E3, with the pandemic a few years ago pretty much nailing the coffin shut on E3. Now, before I go further into the history leading up to the eventual downfall of E3, we need to dial it back a little bit and give a little bit of context to the beginning of the video game event. The first E3 was held May 11th to the 13th, 1995 at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Now, nothing too big really happened at the first E3, only Sony announcing the PlayStation's release date, Sega launching the Sega Saturn, Nintendo showcasing the Virtual Boy, and then just Microsoft presented games for the Windows 95. That last thing wasn't really important, but the other three, they were pretty big. Now, the first E3 had mixed reviews, but it was considered a pretty big event. It was also considered as the biggest event in the video game industry, and so every year it was held, up until 2020 that is. There were some pretty big plans for E3 2020. There were not finalized plans to make the 2020 event a fan media and influencer festival, and also to mitigate the longer lines caused by increased public attendance, they aim to use Qtainment to advertise to attendees while they wait. Think of it as like a fast pass like system of reserving game demos in advance, similar to the one that is used at like Disney World or Disneyland. Big news for the festival was Sony pretty much said that they were not attending the 2020 show, pretty much stating that the vision for E3 2020 did not meet their goals, whatever that means, and they said that, you know what, we're gonna introduce our stuff at other events. Also in 2020, the actual host of E3 Coliseum and the freaking Game Awards also said that he wasn't going to attend the event for the first time in its 25-year history, so pretty much for the same reasons as Sony. Despite the cancellation of the 2020 event, the ESA stated that it still planned to hold the 2021 event, announcing its normal June dates to partners in April of 2020. E3 2021 was also planned to have a combined in-person and virtual event, but in February 2021, it was later revealed that it would just be a virtual event. Now, E3 2022 was planned to be an in-person event on January 7, 2022, but then it was later announced that the in-person event had been canceled due to you-know-what. And to add further insult to injury, the 2022 E3 didn't even have any events posted by anybody, so people were really doubting even if the event was going to happen. Finally, on March 31st, 2022, the ESA, which I don't even know if I mentioned them yet, they were the company that pretty much ran E3, they announced that they had fully canceled E3 2022. And then the final nail in the coffin, on March 30th, 2023, the 2023 E3 event was canceled because of a lack of sustained interest. And that was because of a gigantic domino effect in months leading up to it that just made it pretty much nobody wanted to be there. In January 2023, it was reported that none of Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony would exhibit at E3 2023. It was also later reported that Ubisoft, Sega, and Tencent would also be skipping the presentation as well. And then there was just some weird moments in 2023 where the ESA was pretty much saying, yeah, we're gonna not do 2024 E3, but hopefully we can do it in 2025. And then eventually they came out on December 12, 2023, that E3 was discontinued. There'll be no more E3 ever. And that was pretty much it. We never really heard anything about E3 ever since. So, with all this information, what happened to E3? It used to be the biggest gaming event of the entire year. It had the biggest companies in the entire industry showing off what they were doing, introducing new games, consoles, and then it all just sort of fell apart. I know I just mentioned some events that pretty much led to the ending of E3 that we know now, but there was also a lot of other events earlier in years past that also hastened the downfall of E3. Some big lowlights include the 2007 E3 not being held in the LA Convention Center, but rather an old hangar in the middle of Santa Monica. And the biggest lowlight of them all was before E3 2013, Nintendo opted to pull out of E3 and instead run its own Nintendo Direct streams. E3's big innovation for the 2017 event was they actually just let fans in, which it led to overcrowding and security concerns. Sony's decision to pull out of E3 in 2019 dented E3's prestige even further as well. It also led to other publishers basically questioning whether E3 was even worth it to go to since all the big companies were dropping out. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck and physical events were canceled, the ESA was very ill prepared to adapt to it. A physical showcase in 2021, which was just really bad, led to an outright cancellation for the 2022 show. A former higher up in the ESA actually said in a quote, "There was a significant change in leadership at the ESA around 2019. The people that came in seemed to not understand the significance of the show, despite how much revenue it generated for the organization." The ESA completely dropped the ball in 2020 and 2021, then bowed out with the astonishing disaster that was their team up with ReedPop for 23. While the ESA tried to present a game face after the flop of 2023, it was clear that their mishandling of the E3 brand had effectively killed it. Also, the ESA's lack of internal expertise led it to outsource the show to ReedPop, which had experience running shows like PAX and MCM Comic-Con. And then there were really a bunch of complaints about E3 basically just having a lack of identity. It wanted to be a trade show, a business hub, a show for fans, and a showcase for new games, leading to an increasingly tortured format that mashed all of these elements together. So, ReedPop's solution was to create separate E3 business days that would be restricted to members of the industry, with Gamer Days being held in a separate part of the convention center. There were many publishers initially on board with this new approach, with Nintendo of America even among those said to be involved in the show's planning. But because ReedPop became very edgy and wasn't being very transparent, people didn't really know what was happening, and people were becoming very skeptical about E3 2023 even happening. So eventually Nintendo just pulled out, and ReedPop became very frustrated by the games industry not being very willing to commit. In March 2023, the ESA finally pulled the plug on E3 for good. There were talks of the event potentially being revitalized and renewed, but it was later confirmed on December 12, 2023 that E3 had been canceled for good. Which, it just makes this whole situation really sad. E3 had been an event running since 1995. Some of the biggest moments in video games history happened at E3. Some of the biggest games were announced there. The biggest consoles were announced there. And it's really sad to see that it no longer exists anymore. It was a great kickoff to the summer as well, because once E3 happened, you know it was going to be a good summer. And I know I've been trashing on E3 this whole video, but in reality, I have some good memories from E3. The PS4 being announced was the biggest memory of my lifetime with video games, and it's just really sad to see something like E3 just come to an end and never be around ever again. Now, I do believe a similar show could maybe come up that is like E3, but honestly, it just won't feel the same, because E3 was just, it was this special event that you knew would just happen once a year, and all the big news would come out, and you would just see the IGN videos and the IGN articles talking about everything. And again, it's super unfortunate, and it's super sad what happened to it. And again, video games are extremely important to me. It's one of the biggest things in my life. And E3 had some of the best memories I think I've ever had in the video game world. And even the biggest moments in video game history as well. E3 2001 was probably the greatest video game show ever. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This was a very fun video to research and make, and I just had a lot of fun making it, so I want to know what you guys think down below about this whole E3 situation. Do you think E3 will come back one day? Do you think that there will be a similar show that will take on the E3 role, like I was just showing clips of PAX East 2024 at the end there? So let me know what you guys think. And apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it more than you know. Also, be sure to leave a comment down below as well. Just, you know, you can comment whatever. You can comment like butt cheeks and I'll probably like it if you made it this far into the video. Also, be sure to subscribe. It helps me out a lot and it just makes me a very happy boy. Be sure to leave a like as well. It helps my channel do well. And that's about all I got for you. I'm going to see y'all next time. Goodbye.